if you please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance and prayer, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty God, we ask you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that in fulfilling their public trust, every deliberation will result in actions that will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Morris Plains. We have approval of minutes. Ms. Verga in Mr. Cortez's absence tonight.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting, I move that the minutes of conference, executive, and regular session from May 15th, 2025 be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Art. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The ayes have it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chief Koroski.
Good evening again. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and obviously the public for enduring me yet again during a public presentation. I know we had one at 7:30, but this is something that's really important to I and our staff as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to have the officers present with us this evening. This is a good size representation from the department. So in 2023, we revised our awards and recognition policy. It was very limited in what officers were recognized for. It was basically you saved a life in the course of duty, or unfortunately you were wounded in the course of duty, and we don't want to see any of those things happen. So, but we opened up our awards policy a little bit, and annually during what should have been Police Week, but we're probably going to have to revise that a little bit because 3 of us rode to Washington, D.C. during National Police Week, so we may adjust slightly, but this is our 3rd annual awards recognition ceremony for the officers. Generally what happens in the course of the officers' day-to-day operations, they'll encounter a situation and we think it's deserving of some type of recognition other than just a written commendation. It goes through an awards panel of 3 officers, and we recognize the officers with citation bars and a certificate. So just good to recognize their fine work as they do every day for us. So without further ado, you see Jake Zelinsich and Amelia, where are they? There, they have hair now, so it's harder to tell them apart. And Emilio Erickson, our brand new officers, graduated the academy on June 2nd, so they're in their field training process now. So they joined the department just recently, but Amelia, come on forward. Mayor, you want to join me down front? Tyler, you want to join me down front as well?
Absolutely.
Right there is fine.
You can tell he's new, his uniform's so fresh.
So Emilio joined the department with previous experience from Washington, D.C. Metro Police, but when he joined the department, he came with his bachelor's degree, so we have an educational award that we'll present to him as well, and 10 years with the United States Army, so we thank him for his service. So as the officer goes through his hopefully 25 to 30 year career with us, you'll see some of the officers this evening are wearing a citation bar, and what happens is they will wear the awards when they're in the Class A or Class B uniform. So we have the United States Army citation bar for you, as well as your educational award. Jake Zelinsich. I'm getting close on the pronunciation, I think. No, not yet?
It's good.
Okay.
7 out of 10.
I won't settle for perfect.
That's respect, Chief, that's respect.
There you go. Jake joined the agency having served 5 years with the United States Marine Corps, so he's presented with our Military Service Award. Citation bar from the United States Marine Corps. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Two officers couldn't join us this evening, unfortunately, but we're recognizing their service to the borough in arresting and apprehending intoxicated drivers. Kelvin Preciado is awarded the Mother Against Drunk Driving Award, as well as McLean and Lipschutz will also be awarded a certificate from the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Award. Again, those both have citation bars to go with them. Laquan Shaw, come on forward. So probably one of the prestigious award outside of an injury on duty or worse is our Distinguished Service Award. And I say that because it's recognized by the peers of the agency. Somebody that is a role model for the agency, and this is pretty big for Laquan since he's only been with us for 2 years now. So it's pretty commendable that the agency thinks so highly of Laquan. His daily effort to the community goes without saying that he really deserves this award. So for Distinguished Service, as voted by his peers, the Distinguished Service Award from the department. And of course, there's some hardware to go with that. Congratulations.
Goes with the shiny shoes.
And probably the only award that doesn't have to be put in front of a committee of officers to acknowledge is the Chief's Commendation, and probably somewhat overdue on this award. So last week, we were in front of a panel of about a half a dozen chiefs administrators throughout the state. We were awarded our 5th consecutive reaccreditation. 4% of police agencies in the state of New Jersey have that recognition of being accredited. So they come in, they review all of our policies, and not only about your policies, but are you following what you say, what you do. It's a labor of love, we'll call it. So hours and hours and months actually probably of going through policies and proofs and proving to a state body that we actually follow our policies and protect this community the way we say we do. So Pete Rolfe, come on forward, sir. This is our 5th consecutive reaccreditation, which I said puts us in 4% of law enforcement agencies in the state of New Jersey. A great honor for me as the chief, and then for the mayor and council, I'm sure as well. But Pete has been part of every single reaccreditation, I believe, since we started in the accreditation program, whether it's accreditation manager or co-accreditation manager, but we would not have obtained this achievement without Pete. So I'm recogning him this evening with the Chief's Commendation Award. Very good. Mayor, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you for the time. Folks, thank you for enduring me yet again, but thank you to the officers for coming out and supporting their fellow officers. I appreciate it. So you're all dismissed.
I'd like to say thank you to the chief and to the whole department, right? Every officer, and congratulations to you guys graduating and becoming the police officers here, and thank you for your service. Laquan, I think the whole council was here, probably except for a few who hired you, and really to come along a long way in 2 years like this is really commendable. Pete making the town and the department look good with another accreditation is something super. So thank you to every one of you, the chief, and couldn't make the residents happier, safer, and more proud of you guys. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Exit stage left.
Have a good night.
Okay, we have approval of consent calendar. Again, Nancy and please, Mr.
Excuse me. Before we do the approval of consent, I'd like to recommend that we remove resolution 2025-85, where remorse plans resolution to submit a grant application for the community tree project to plant shade trees. I did speak to the vice chair of the Shade Tree Commission, and he's not aware of this. So it's my feeling that I believe the Shade Tree Commission should look at this, make recommendations back to the council prior to us passing a resolution.
So I think this is one that they went out for previous, and there might be a time frame. So I don't know whether you want to take this off and not have an opportunity for that. If the time frame doesn't allow it, you put back on the calendar for July. I would put it on the calendar. We can always take it off then, but you know, again, we have a meeting in July. July once a month, and if there's a time frame that is due, which I do not know, that might jeopardize getting it.
I understand, Mayor. I appreciate that. It is, you know, an application for a grant. And in my speaking with Mr. McAlear, you know, his feeling is that the shade tree isn't aware of it. So I'm curious how this came to a resolution. The shade tree didn't recommend.
Did you talk to the chairman?
I talked to the vice chair.
Did you talk to the
I
chairman?
did not. I talked to the vice chair.
Maybe the chairman would have that answer.
Okay. Do we know how this resolution came?
I don't, not 100% sure how it came about. I know that there was talk about it, and like I said, they did get it last year, I believe, and then they wanted to try again to get other ones. I mean, it's a $2,500 grant, and it's for trees. I don't know what the issue really would be to pull it and to jeopardize the grant money. I mean, if that's the will of the council, we'll pull it, we'll put it on number 13, and then the council can vote on that and see where it goes from there.
I think anything that has to do with another committee or commission should be recommended by that committee or commission. And you had said that it came to us and don't know when, so my concern is, I think, valid. But that's my recommendation.
So, was this, okay, so we'll put it on number 13 and see what it all is. All right, if you do that, I would,
Sorry, when you say put on number 13, what does that mean?
On the agenda.
resolution, then the council can vote on not doing it or not. Okay.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And, so I would, while we're gonna do this, I'd like to talk about the last one, before we read that and vote that as well, so we can talk about that in the executive and then come back out and discuss that.
What do you say?
In executive or under resolutions?
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the executive, and then we'll bring it back out under resolution.
When you say the last one, which one are you talking about?
The borough representative authorized to direct applications. The last, resolution.
I think that's a policy decision, so I don't know why that would be executive.
Oh, personnel.
But it's not a particular personnel, it's a policy.
Yeah, that's personnel.
Okay.
So we'll take that one off, and we'll do that first.
I move that the following reports be approved for April 2025, the treasurer report and tax collector report. And the following reports be approved for May 2025, the borough clerk, animal licensing, sanitarian, police department, and fire prevention. Resolution 2025-76 entitled Annual Report of Audit for the year 2024. Resolution 2025-77 entitled Dore Art Corporation ABC License, State License Number 1423-33001003. Resolution 2025-78 entitled Joann Liquors Inc., ABC License, State License Number 1423-44003003. Resolution 2025-79 entitled Nefito LLC, ABC State License 1423-33004003 in pocket. Resolution 2025-80 entitled Chris Investments LLC, ABC License, State License Number 1423-44002007. Resolution 2025-81 entitled Mars Plains 1 LLC, ABC, State License Number 1423-33005009 in pocket. Resolution 2025-82 entitled Annual Audit Corrective Action Plan. Resolution 2025-83 entitled Authorization to set up a reserve for the preliminary costs to Northview Drive road improvements for the Borough of Morris Plains. Resolution 2025-84 entitled Resolution Authorizing the Submission of a Grant Application to the T-Mobile Hometown Grant Program for $50,000 toward the Long Park Playground Equipment Project. Resolution 2025-86 entitled Borough of Morris Plains Resolution of Support to Submit a Grant Application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the Cops Hired Program. Resolution 2025-87 entitled Transfer of a Police Motorcycle from the City of Elizabeth to the Borough of Morris Plains. Resolution 2025-88 entitled Resolution of the Borough of Morris Plains authorizing the use of an online reverse auction for the purchase of electricity supply services for the public use of non-street light service. Resolution 2025-89 entitled A Resolution of the Borough of Morris Plains authorizing the purchase of use of an online reverse auction for the purchase of electricity supply services for public use for street light services. Resolution 2025-90 entitled Resolution Endorsing the 2025 Housing Element and Fair Share Plan. Resolution 2025-91 entitled Refund of Overpayment. Borough Council approves a police vehicle to be transported to New Jersey Police Security Expo in Atlantic City from June 22nd, 2025 through June 26th, 2025. Having polled the council on May 22nd, 2025, Giovanni Cortez was granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages at a birthday party held Saturday, May 24th, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Community Park Pavilion. Audrey Eatman be hired as a substitute crossing guard for the police department at a daily rate of $90, retroactive to May 29th, 2025. The residents of Walsh Way, west of Oregon Trail, be granted permission to hold a block party on Saturday, July 19th, 2025 from 4 to 8 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, July 20th, 2025 from 4 to 8 p.m. Further permission to serve alcoholic beverages be granted. The DPW will provide the necessary barricades. The residents of Hawthorne Ave, Homer Ave, Carlisle Ave, and Sunset Road be granted permission to hold a block party on Saturday, September 13th, 2025 from 4 p.m. to midnight with a rain date of Sunday, September 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Further permission to serve alcoholic beverages be granted. The DPW will provide the necessary barricades. The Department of Public Works be authorized to advertise for the position of laborer with Class B CDL preferred. MG Car Club Central Jersey Center be granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages at a club picnic and barbecue to be held Saturday, September 6th, 2025 from 10 to 3 at the Community Park Pavilion. Having received quotes for goats to graze the invasive species at Community Park from the following: Neighborhood Farm LLC, $1,650. Green Goats Rhinebeck, $9,000. Crescent Nar Farm, $4,500. That a purchase order be issued to Neighborhood Farm LLC, 167 Buttermilk Ridge Road, Asbury, New Jersey, in the amount of $1,650. Craig Rolfe Laborer be granted the $1 per hour increase for receiving his Class B CDL license retroactive to May 16th, 2025. Shane Kelly, probationary laborer, be promoted to the position of laborer in Department of Public Works and be granted the $1 per hour increase for receiving his Class B CDL license retroactive to May 27th, 2025. Mark Bellis, probationary laborer, be promoted to the position of laborer in Department of Public Works and be granted the $1 per hour increase for receiving his Class B CDL license retroactive to June 3rd, 2025. Having received the minutes of the Board of Health from May 14th, 2025, approved at the meeting June 11th, 2025, the resignation of Carole Howell has been accepted effective May 31st, 2025. Sean Mulligan be hired as Board of Health Secretary at an annual salary of $8,500 prorated effective June 1st, 2025. Thomas Steckert be granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages at his first birthday party to be held Saturday, January 5th, 2025 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Community Park Pavilion. Daniel Vanderplug be granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages at a family reunion to be held Sunday, July 27th, 2025 from 10 a.m. to dusk at the Community Park Pavilion. Having received quotes for Police Department 100th anniversary badges from the following: Symbol Arts LLC, $3,503.16. Point Emblems, $3,970.81. Smith & Warren, $4,700. That a purchase order be issued to Symbol Arts LLC, 6083 South 1550 East Ogden, Utah, in the amount of $3,503.16. Morris Plains Seniors be granted permission to park approximately 12 cars at Veterans Park Baseball Field parking lot on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025 from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. while on a bus trip to New York City. Robert Fredette be granted the $1 per hour increase for receiving his Class B CDL license retroactive to June 17th, 2025. Having received public bids for contract 2025.C for the repair of replacing 2 tennis courts at the Morris Plains Community Park, that a contract be awarded to Green Valley Group, Inc. for their low bid of $49,710, and that the mayor be authorized to execute the contract. The highlighted Community Park pool employees attached be hired for the pool season at the position, salary, and date stated for the 2025 season. The Borough Treasurer be authorized to advertise for the receipt of bids for the construction of a tennis wall within the Borough of Morris Plains Contract 2025.D in the Morris Newsbee 2025 edition of the official Borough newspaper on July 10th, 2025, with bids to be received on August 6th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Council Chambers, Borough Hall.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Art, roll call please.
Mr. Bruhn,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mr. Ivey,
Yes.
Mr. Pontier,
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
Just two things I have is, I should have done this really before the vote, but the goats, is that the ones that are here now, or those are?
Those go sit here then.
And then really I have to say, thank you to Carole Howell. She spent 40 years, over 40 years, as the secretary of the Board of Health here in Morris Plains, and she's stepping down from that role, something that she really did not want to do, and but we wish Carole all the best moving forward, and she really was a true asset to the Board of Health and the communications and the minutes and everything else that she did there. So I really want to thank Carole for her real true dedication to the borough for over 40 years. It's to be commended. So thank you, Carole. Just a couple things I want to bring up. So there's a lot of emails that come into the clerk's office, and then it always has all of the, every council person's name on it. So just so that the public is aware, so if something comes in with everybody, with all the council people's names on it, the council cannot respond on that email due to sunshine laws and that sort of thing. So if anything has to be distributed to the entire council, I recommend sending individual emails or sending it to the clerk's office, and then the clerk can disperse it to the whole council. Because something I've heard that we don't get responses or all kinds of other things, but really that's probably one of the main reasons for that. So if people could just be cognizant of that when they're sending emails to members of the Borough Council. The other thing I do want to bring up is Larry Ripley and the Morris Plains Blood Drive that's sponsored by the Morris Plains Rotary was honored last week, and for 15,000 pints of blood that's been donated here in Morris Plains over the last 25 years. That's a real accomplishment, and I'd like to thank the borough, this council and previous councils for making that community center and everything else that we make available to that blood drive to achieve that monumental amount of donations to blood drives. So Larry Ripley's been there probably since day one, and he's to be commended on building that program and really getting it to where it is. There's some volunteers here that do go there. So again, thank you to the volunteers and Larry Ripley and everybody who was donated blood there as well. So those are just a couple of things. At this time, I'd like to invite members of the public to come up and state your name and address. Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing, there's an overview over here. We did a town hall for our fair share housing, so if anybody did not get it, that's the handout that we had the other night at the Borough School fair share update.
Hi, Laurie Cama, 12 Lindabury Lane. Hi, Laurie. Hi, Morris Plains. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm here to follow up with the council about Ordinance 14-2023, Section 13-5.1C, which was the permitted uses. And number 6 of that ordinance talks about the drive-through restaurants that are permitted principal uses in the B2 and B3 zones. As you know, there's significant concern about this use remaining permitted in Morris Plains. What's also interesting is that the number 6 listing of permitted uses specifies that drive-through windows of financial institutions in B2 and B3, OB, and C1 are permitted if approving board is satisfied there is enough room on site for queuing of cars. And drive-through windows for pharmacies in B3 only are permissible if the approving board is satisfied there is enough room on site for queuing. Yet the statement about drive-through restaurants in B2 and B3 was included without any discretion regarding enough room for queuing of cars. And so it has the appearance that it was added as an afterthought or rushed through perhaps, but a little concerning that we have it in the B2 and yet we don't have any further discretion. But if you may recall, in December 2024, in the final meeting, I asked, when the drive-through restaurant use would be removed from the B2 zone, and I was told to be addressed after the reorg meeting. And in January, again, it was raised by another community member, and we were told that, of course, after a broader evaluation of that whole ordinance, to make sure there were no other hidden gems in there, that it would be revisited. And Bill, I have to say your efforts on the ordinance committee are appreciated and your transparency and updates so far. But I'm recognizing it's June 19th, and the concern is that with each day that passes, we run the risk of either a site having an application to renovate, right, to turn into a drive-through, or that if the current decision that was made about the Friendlies and adjoining property is overturned for some reason, I just wouldn't want to see another application slip in. So can you provide us an update on kind of how and when the drive-through restaurant use will be removed from the B2 zone?
So that specific ordinance, I know I've talked about it a lot, I've referenced it a lot. It is, as you mentioned, a large ordinance. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't given it the time that's needed to review that in depth. I need to spend the time to do that. We do have to look at a number of things, including that drive-through. I can't make any promises as to what's going to be removed or added or changed. It's definitely something that we'd have to look at as a council, and then because it does have to do with land use, I believe it has to go to the planning board, right? So there's a lot of steps in the process. Unfortunately, I don't really have an update for you as far as progress goes. It's still on my list, but I haven't made any progress on it.
I can appreciate that it's a huge undertaking, and I know we've seen actions coming through on ordinances or things being presented to this council for things you are getting done. I guess I come back to the question of, so you kind of alluded to how, right, that a number of things have to happen, your review, followed by, either coming to the council or definitely the planning board, right? So that's kind of the how, but the when, I guess, is a big question, because we're coming around the bend here for the summer and into the fall, and maybe if there's a goal set, to try and a date by which this can be achieved, so that we have some confidence, then you can back into, as an ordinance committee and also as a planning board and as a council, as to, how do we get there, right? What do we have to do to get there by setting a target date to have it achieved by? Because I don't want to be, for the sake of this town, again, for the concerns about the days passing, but then also, if I'm in the final meeting in December again this year, raising this topic, I'm concerned. So
I understand.
It would be great for the comfort of kind of our community to have a sense of a goal, a line in the sand, kind of when we at least hope to have it completed by, and to back into those steps. And I know there are other probably urgent topics, but from a community concern perspective, I think, again, those changes that came through, that one specifically, but in case there are others in there, we would like to see those addressed with more intentional managing of that project and a deadline.
Yeah, I understand your concern, and I think that what I can do is kind of put some milestones together for looking at different parts of it. As was alluded to, right, it's a very large ordinance, right, so to do any sort of changes goes through an entire process. So I can't make any promises as, hey, by the end of this year, we'll have revised the entire thing, but I think, it's definitely reasonable to expect that, we make some notable progress on it that's mentioned to the public. So as far as the timeline goes, I don't want to commit to anything.
Can I ask,
because,
no, I understand that you need to think about that and again, back into like what would be required. But I guess a follow-up question is, does it need to be changed in its entirety in order to go through, or can sections of that, and I ask that to any of you, can sections of it be addressed initially, right? Can it be done in stages?
So I think if they're gonna look at the whole ordinance, they'd have to look at the whole ordinance. You don't want to piecemeal 2, 3, ordinances can be changed, but if they're gonna look at it, it should be a thorough look at it and then do one change.
Okay, so it can't be kind of dissected.
When it was initially passed, I was told there were a few provisions that I was uncomfortable with, and people said you can revise it the next day. I disagree respectfully, and I think it's a living document that can we guarantee that if we pass some changes next meeting, that it's not gonna need changes a year from now? No, I can't, because we may not perceive everything, or circumstances may change.
Right.
But I think that it's doable to identify some priorities that we can address that are major concerns, and, I think there are things in there that also need to be looked at, like standards and other parts that kind of play into it, but that's a bigger project. So,
Yeah, but just before some of the changes or whatever would require some of those other changes, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that as a general statement, right? So if you change something, it may trigger something else. So things can be changed. They're certainly gonna look at it and certainly change things maybe that are gonna be changed, or that they'll look at to be changed.
when we did it the first time, we didn't do anything with bulk standards, so if we can get that done that time, why can't we do that again? with
Well, that
bulk
was
standards?
that time, that's the whole point. This may, I said it may trigger something else, right? If you change here may trigger something else that has to be changed, so.
So I think it's reasonable to expect from the public, and it's also reasonable to, with respect to the council and the committee, that, we can take a look at the ordinance in sections, and that we can make recommendations amongst the council, and then discuss it, as Nancy said, Ms. Verga said, it's a living document, right? So some of those things need to go before the planning board. We'll bring that back, we can discuss it, we can say this needs to go before the planning board, right? So I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think as the chair of the ordinance committee, I think it is on me to run that process. So, I will, I will put it on the top of my list, and then I'll say by July's meeting, I will have an action plan. Yeah.
And that's terrific. I think hearing what the priorities and knowing that at least this one that I've raised is known to be a priority from the community, and if there are other priorities that we see that can help raise that here in terms of greater sense of urgency, then we will bring them to you, and in our public comments, if that's helpful. But this one, I just want to make sure was heard. So I greatly appreciate your discussion around that and consideration of addressing things in stages. All right. Thank you so much. I look forward to your update in July.
You don't need music. Come on.
Yes. Jessica for 15 Hillview Avenue.
Hi, Jessica.
Hey guys. All right, so I'm here as a Morris Plains resident to try and understand. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. But during the May Town Council meeting and the June Planning Board meeting, when asked about Ron Kelly and his position on the Planning Board, Mayor Karr, you advised that we speak to Mr. Kelly. So I received from Mr. Kelly the email that he sent to Mr. Brewer on May 16th after the May Town Council meeting. Mr. Kelly asked that I share it on his behalf to help explain his understanding of what happened. Andy, I guess it's Mr. Brewer. I was told that at last night's meeting, back in May, I was given options regarding being able to stay on the board. In your letter, I was led to believe that there were no options, and I chose not to resign because in reality, I was removed. Also, Jason, Mr. Karr, said at the meeting last night, he was the one who found out about the ruling, and on Monday, which was the first time we spoke, he said he was not aware of the ruling and apologized, but said there was nothing he could do and thanked me for my service. I'm confused about the situation with Marianne Steckert as it appears she's being treated differently. I am not aware that anyone has been appointed to replace me and would appreciate that not being done until I'm made aware of what these options are and have time to respond. Respectfully appreciate your help and consideration, Ron. So Ron informed me that after he sent this email, he did not receive a response. Mayor Karr, you reiterated that there were options given. So when I'm reading this, I'm just having a little confusion.
So who didn't he get a response from?
From Andy, Mr.
Okay,
Brewer.
so I can't speak for
That's
Andy.
fine, no, I'm
And I
just,
know that there was previous emails that were sent to Ron
Mhm.
explaining the situation and his options.
Yeah.
Right?
so one of my big concerns, just as a community member wanting to know more and
Sure.
understand, is we just want to be sure and understand the process, right? I want to understand what happens and that what is making sure that it's fair and reasonable when it comes to appointing people in this position.
Mhm.
So, after reading the email, I have one really big clarifying question is, all of the town positions are posted in our agenda for tonight, right? We're getting any job that's coming up, they say they approve it, it's here. So if Mr. Kelly had been on the agenda and it was brought forward after he had already been a member of the planning board, why wasn't it notified then that he couldn't be on both?
That's a good question. It fell through the cracks.
So I just don't understand why the conflict wasn't identified then, and I think he needs some more clarity as well.
I mean, I've spoken to Mr. Kelly.
Mhm.
I just spoke with Mr. Kelly the other night at the
Mhm.
community center. So I don't know, maybe he's telling me something different than he wrote to you. So I don't know
Yeah.
where he's coming from with that email.
Yeah, and then just as a community member, I wanted to make sure that I brought it forward because I believe in transparency. I believe in each one of you, and I would want the same for any of you. And I just want to make sure that he's given the opportunity, that if he was given the option of your job or this, then we still that.
Yeah, listen, I didn't want to get rid of Ron. I think Ron was an asset to the planning board. Right?
Mhm.
So, but if there becomes a conflict, just like up here,
Mhm.
it has to be dealt with, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Dealt with the conflict at the time.
Mhm. Well, I appreciate it, and you just had mentioned it when Ms. Schroeder was up here, so I wanted to make sure that I followed up because I got information. So we wanted to make sure that you knew, and maybe Mr. Brewer could reach out to Mr. Kelly and kind of talk through a little more.
Okay,
That would
I
be
will
great.
suggest that to Mr. Brewer. I know that they did have conversations, there were emails back and forth. I never knew that there was any confusion here.
Well, I
I didn't
appreciate
hear
it.
that.
I'm here to serve the message. Thank y'all.
Carolyn Bennett, 19 Leading Road.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hey. All right, so first, I want to express my appreciation to the town council for allowing time and space for public comment. It's not something to be taken for granted, and I genuinely thank you for continuing to hold this space for residents. I also want to acknowledge that change takes effort, and we have seen some progress in recent months. For that, we are grateful. I want to speak not just as a resident, but as someone who truly cares about the integrity of this community, specifically the community I'm raising my children in, and the example that are set by those in the leadership positions, it's become increasingly difficult to ignore a pattern of behavior that many of us find troubling. Time and again, we've watched as voices are talked over, dismissed, or outright ignored. Not because of what's being said, but because those views don't align with the select few in positions of power. There seems to be a culture where respect is conditional, where collaboration only happens when there's agreement, and where the loudest voices dominate instead of the most thoughtful ones being heard. These are not the values this community stands for, and they shouldn't define our leadership. I am hopeful that we are on our way to breaking this cycle. Let's also not pretend there's an elephant in the room when it comes to the McDonald's situation, because there isn't. It's clear residents are frustrated, and rightfully so. We're demanding transparency, which has not always felt like a priority. But that application has also highlighted ways our town government can improve, how we can be more open, more responsive, and avoid business-critical typos. These moments should be viewed as opportunities for growth, not reasons to silence or shame those who speak up. As a newer resident, totally transparent, I keep hearing about precedents set in this town many, many years ago, often by a small group of long-standing decision makers. While I respect the history and the people who helped shape this community, which I now call home, we have to ask ourselves, are we honoring tradition or are we letting it hold us back? Wake up, literally. The world is changing. The way we live, work, and connect is evolving. Our town needs to be evolving with it. What's even more concerning is how I've repeatedly heard how some residents are afraid to speak up. That should be a red flag to everyone in this room. No one, especially in a local democracy, should feel hesitant to share their perspective. That fear doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from being talked over, shut down, or made to feel that only certain opinions are welcome. At times, it seems that only those with long-standing roots in the town are truly heard, whether intentionally or not. We can't build a better community if we aren't willing to listen to all of our voices. Leadership means engaging with different viewpoints, even uncomfortable ones. And it means creating space where residents feel like they belong, not feeling discouraged from participating. That brings me to a few questions, and I hope they are received in the spirit that they're intended, because I, like everyone behind me, are just genuinely trying to understand. I'm happy to send along over email as well, which I will do to individual email addresses, because I want to make sure I can ask them all tonight, so if you don't feel like answering them, I'm sure others can follow up. So my first question is it common that the same individuals are appointed across multiple committees and leadership roles? Is this intentional? If so, what could the reasoning be? Is it unintentionally shutting the door on new voices who want to contribute? Or is it simply a case of not enough community interest in those positions? If it's the latter, that may signal a deeper issue in how accessible or welcoming these roles may feel to others. And I'm going to be honest, the Kelly and Steckert situation on the planning board has raised eyebrows for me, and I imagine I'm not alone, as seen here tonight, which was not coordinated. Selfishly, I just want to better understand how we got here and how we ensure something like this doesn't happen again. I know a few residents have asked questions, again and again, but I don't believe we've received the clarity or transparency we've been seeking. When exactly did the town realize Ron's membership was non-compliant? Was it truly in December 2024, like noted, or was it earlier? From my understanding of the discussions to date, Ron's Class 4 designation became non-compliant when he began working at the community center back in 2023. Let's assume for a moment that this was an oversight, as mentioned. That's still confusing to me since the eligibility criteria has not changed from 2023 to 2024. This shouldn't have been new news. Mistakes are part of any process, but acknowledging them openly and taking responsibility is what builds trust. Avoiding accountability only makes it harder to move forward together, and honestly, it looks shady. If this was a genuine oversight, what processes are now in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again? The other thing I'm not wrapping my head around is if there's truly no path for Ron to be reappointed, if he steps down from his current job. Based on what I heard earlier this week at the planning board meeting, it seems that legally he can be reappointed. He appears to be an asset to the board, which I think was also just said, someone with history, knowledge, and dedication. Why wouldn't that reappointment be pursued? And while we're asking questions, I'll say what others are probably whispering. It does seem like exceptions are being made for certain members. So what makes Ron different? And I've heard over and over we need to talk to Ron directly about what options were provided to him. And Like Jess said, that information would be great if it could be shared publicly, because I think there's some misalignment there. It creates the perception that something is being withheld, and that's not the kind of transparency that we're looking for. I don't want to assume this, but it makes me think of the word retaliation, and I don't want to go that route, but I would be a liar if I didn't say that that's not something that's come to my mind. So I would just really like to understand how all of these facts can be laid out in a way that I can wrap my head around not getting to that as the conclusion. I said this before, I may not fully understand every ordinance or process, and I continue to admit when I'm sitting at this table and learning on the fly. I'd be lying if I said the word retaliation hasn't crossed my mind multiple times, and again, I don't want to assume that, but I will just keep saying that. So, thank you for bearing with me, and I'm going to close with one last question. Answer it if you want or not. Is this truly the community of caring that we're building together and that we're proud of, or are there things that we can do, you know, to make it better and the one that we all want to be in?
So that's certainly a lot. I don't know, I don't remember all your questions, but I took responsibility. I appoint those people to the planning board, so I took the responsibility. I probably didn't follow up with whether Ron was working or the red flag came up when he accepted the job. I'll take that onus. I don't have a problem with that. And if there's a way that Ron could come back, I would reappoint Ron. I have no problem with doing that. I never had a problem with Ron or his being on the planning board. And it had absolutely nothing to do with anything that went on here, a decision that was made. I've spoken to Ron after his decision. We talked about why I voted yes or why he voted no. We've talked about all that stuff. So I don't have any animosity towards Ron, and I don't think Ron has any animosity towards me. And my understanding is that he was given these options. He chose his option to stay working. Whatever reason that was, I don't know. But that was his option. He knew that. So if Ron wants to step down from his position in the borough, I have no problem reappointing him. If that's even possible. So I have no problem doing that.
Okay, and I appreciate that response, and I know that was a lot, and I think that some of what I just heard is like the first time that we've heard it, so I
mean, I always took onus of that. That's my appointment. I never blamed him being on the planning board and getting a job on anybody else. That never came out of my mouth, ever. It was my appointment. He got a job. Nobody thought about, oh, he can't have this position if he has a job in the borough. I take that. I'll take the onus for that.
Okay.
And if there's some way that we can work it out and Ron can get reappointed on it, I have absolutely no problem doing that. That's fine.
I hear the mumblings behind it, so I think like hearing this is a step in the direction that we're hoping that we can go.
Well, I don't want to speak for Ron, but I guess it's to the point where I'm gonna have to speak for Ron. He was given these choices and.
What choice?
It's confusing to
He
me
could've-
because the email that was just read said that I was not given choices, so I don't know if we have to like drag him here for him to say that, which feels super awkward, but.
He'll have to speak then. So, listen, if there's a way that I can put Ron back on the planning board that works, I have no problem doing that whatsoever. So, but that decision is up to Ron. And I believe Ron was given those options.
Okay.
I will make sure that Ron knows that tomorrow morning. I will make sure that Ron knows his options and make sure that he's aware of everything that happened and why it happened.
That sounds good, and I don't wanna be like the face of I'm hearing things from all sorts of different people, and it's just super confusing, so I appreciate it.
And I'm hearing things from all kinds of people too, and different attorneys and different members of the public, and this meeting and that meeting. I've spoken to Ron. Ron has never said anything to me. We've spoken very nicely to each other, shook hands, and none of this was ever brought to my attention from Ron.
All right. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Joann Dugan, 31 Canfield. Can you tell me what options Ron was given?
You know what, Mayor, I'm going to direct you now to answer this question, and here's why.
So there's an active litigation going on here with this McDonald's application.
This doesn't really have anything
Well,
to do with that.
it does, because yesterday a motion was filed by the attorney there, challenging the appointments of board members, calling that to light, and that motion is now pending in Superior Court of New Jersey. So, and my job here this evening at this board is to protect this board, protect this borough, not the planning board attorney. But at the same time, things that are said here become discoverable in that lawsuit. And with a motion pending, which names Marianne Steckert, names Ron, and all of these names are in that motion. This is not a deposition, yet it's recorded. So therefore, I have to, not necessarily because I want to, but I have to protect this board. I'm not gonna allow these answers to be given.
Okay then, we'll see it in court, I guess.
Anybody else?
Cooper Johnson, 51 Sun Valley Way.
Cooper?
If I may, could I pass out a timeline of the whole Steckert, Kelly sort of situation to the members of the council here? Thank you.
There's one to the clerk, too, for the deputy clerk.
If I may, I'm going to be reading this point by point here. Interject if anyone has any sort of revisions, any sort of details that they would like to add to this timeline to give the public a more comprehensive overview of how this whole situation panned out here. So in January 2023, Mr. Kelly joins the planning board as a Class 4 member. In the same month there, Steckert joins the Shade Tree Commission too. Any disagreements with that?
I'm not, again, I'm not gonna have counsel.
Okay.
You're certainly free to state what you say, but I'm not gonna have them answering, at this point, I'm not gonna have them answer any questions. They're not gonna confirm these dates. Quite frankly, I don't know that they can.
All of
I mean,
these are
you know,
obtained
I
from
mean,
public records.
Who created this document?
This was created by a fellow member of the Plain Better Morris Plains.
And where did that individual get this information from?
Public records. All of this is publicly
You know
available
that
either
happened.
through Wayback Machine or the Morris Plains Borough website.
All right, but again, you can read this into the record, but I also want the record to very clearly reflect it. Nowhere is this confirmed to be true, okay? It's clearly hearsay. So you can make a point, you make your statement, but I don't want this to reflect that at any point in time, anybody agrees that any of this is accurate up here on this board, okay? This is not a document I created, it's not a document anybody in this board created. So, and it's coming from third parties outside this room, so.
Understood.
I'm not challenging the integrity of it, but I also, at the same time, to be fair, want to indicate that I have no way of proving or any of this being accurate.
I have screenshots with dates provided. Unfortunately, I did not create photocopies of this. If anyone wants to check this out, feel free to. All these are available on either the Wayback Machine or on the current Morris Plains website. Are all council members aware what the Wayback Machine is? It's an internet archive website which allows you to pull up previously archived versions of websites online without altercation. To continue onwards, in September 2023, Mr. Kelly begins to work at the community center, which a planning board Class 4 designation then becomes non-compliant with. In January 2024, Steckert joins the planning board as a Class 4 member. The planning board Class 4 designation is also non-compliant with the shade tree rule. For the entirety of 2024, both of these people are non-compliant planning board members. Then around January 2025, Mr. Dept exits the planning board. Steckert is reclassified as a Class 2 on the website here. We have a screenshot of that. It is exactly unclear when, but it's after sometime the January 7th council reorganization, which does not reflect this change. In April 2025, Mr. Brewer notifies Mr. Kelly that he was resigned from the planning board seat and when he accepted employment at the community center. And at May 2025, Mayor Karr states that the council meeting that Mr. Kelly was, and I quote, given options. They characterized Steckert as a non-compliant classification as a typo. We can also quote this from today's meeting as well. So as you can see, we also have some red bubbles up here. These are some of our main questions that we want to just ask here for sort of just further clarification for public purposes. So why wasn't Steckert deemed to have resigned from the shade tree as soon as she accepted the role on the planning board? Answer as much as you can while still like being within legal precedent.
On advice of counsel, I'm not gonna answer any questions on this.
All good. When did the town become aware of Steckert's and Mr. Kelly's misclassifications? As same probably answer here.
Same answer, yeah.
When was Steckert classification updated on the website? Same answer, I assume.
Yes.
How thorough was the legal analysis that led to this sort of draconian conclusion? Why couldn't this conflict have been resolved by Mr. Kelly simply quitting his job as has been done with Ms. Steckert there previously? And what is the legal reasoning here? I assume same answer, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, but that's, I mean, that particular question is something you can raise to the planning board, and ask the planning board's counsel, that question.
The next
He
plan.
may choose not to answer it, but that's a question more directly, put to him.
The next planning board meeting is next July, so I figured that this would just be answered here to get as
No,
much.
I'm just trying to help you, though.
Oh, thank you.
I understand, you know, and again, I don't want it to come across like I'm trying to throw up a roadblock, I'm really not. See, I'm in a very unusual position because I recognize we have the members of the public here that have these questions. But I, unfortunately, am not the public's attorney, I'm this board's attorney. So I sit in a chair here that's very different from my colleagues. And it, quite frankly, it creates a legal problem for me if I allowed them to answer these questions. And again, it's not that I don't want them to, I wish I could because I think it'd make this a little bit easier. However, a court of law would look at me and say, you've got a duty to your client and you're not doing it. So that's where I'm coming from. But at the same time, I'm trying to help you by saying some of these questions can be raised planning board to planning board, and he may be able to answer them, okay? But this council cannot, because there is active litigation pending.
We'll make sure to raise that to the planning board meeting next July. For the final question, just on here, is the seat technically now vacant and Mr. Kelly quits his job? Why can't he just be simply reappointed, as was at least viewed on the outside with the whole Steckert situation earlier there?
Just so you know too on that, okay, now again, I'm not the planning board attorney, but the question there, on that question is whether or not Mr. Kelly can be reappointed. And I spoke to Mr. Brewer, who is planning board attorney, the question becomes, once there's a conflict, okay? We're not sure, both Mr. Brewer and I, although I think Mr. Brewer did come to the conclusion, no, but you should ask him that in July, that you can never cure that conflict. That once there's a conflict, even if you then, let's say it's a conflict because you have a position somewhere else, if you vacate that position, I'm not so sure that that individual can then come back onto the planning board, because the thought process is the reason it was a conflict initially was because of an appearance of impropriety or some other issue. And just because you've now vacated that position, it doesn't necessarily undo a conflict that existed. You know, for example, if you commit a crime and then down the road you do something, it still might have been a crime that you can't fix. So that's really the thought process. It may not be that easy that he vacates the conflict and then comes back on the board. I'm not suggesting that he can't, because Andy and I did discuss this at length. But ultimately that's Andy's call from the planning board, or Mr. Brewer's call from the planning board. And I think his conclusion was no. I didn't follow up on that with him, because it is a planning board that's a separate body from us. But that is a relevant question to ask Mr. Brewer at the July meeting. But I just want you to understand it. It's not like this hasn't been discussed, or it's not transparent. I can assure you, I remember sitting in the library parking lot when we were having this conversation. So it has been addressed, and your answer lies with the planning board and with counsel for the planning board on that.
Understood. To conclude here, I would just like to present one final train of thought here with the question. No answers are really required here. And so I would just like to ponder whether Ms. Steckert and Mr. Kelly were treated equally relative to their situations and the whole sort of criteria around them. If we say yes, for instance, then of course that would require some more explanation. And that really boils down to, was Mr. Kelly given the same opportunity to either resign from his own positions and to still retain a membership on the planning board there, which either can be answered with a yes or a no here. Yes basically becomes, why is this not backed up by any other sources? In fact, is refuted by Mr. Kelly himself in that letter that we've mentioned earlier. And if the answer is no here, then this is therefore not equal treatment here. If we take the answer of no to whether they were treated equally, then we would of course be wondering who would be treated better in this instance. If it was Ms. Steckert, we would be wondering why in this instance, and if it was Mr. Kelly, that would simply not be true here, as one of them has membership on the planning board and the other one simply does not. Thank you.
Did you give one to the
Yes.
Thank you.
Cougar, this is a question for you. Are you pre-legal?
I'm thinking about it.
I was gonna say, he's the city attorney.
That was very good, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
We should probably mark this, because there's a record of this meeting, and this is a handout, and there's a reference to it, so we probably should mark it like A1 or something for identification purposes. But you should put in the minutes that this is A1, and keep a copy of it too as well.
Hello, Sue Ricardelli, 9 Cutler Road.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, something completely in the other direction. Mayor, is there any update on the flood remediation? Remember that was supposed to take place in April and we got rained out twice?
Yeah, so we're waiting obviously through the
Yeah,
rainy
yeah.
season, maybe sometime in August will be
Okay,
the
but
next
it's still on the books?
opportunity. I know, I have not taken it off the books for sure, but I know that it has gotten less now just because the tree company was out there and volunteered their time and energy on a day that they had free to go out there and pull some of the stuff already out of the stream. Yeah. And you were gonna send me an
Yeah,
email,
am
but
gonna
I
send you
never
some.
got anything
No, I
from
didn't
you.
send it, I
Okay.
will send it, another tree fell, across
Yeah,
the brook
send me
behind
an
us and
email.
it's worse.
Again, going back further, I don't know if the brook is in your property, if the brook is your property,
No, it's not.
or if your property line extends past the brook,
No,
then it's gonna be your responsibility, so we'll have to look at that.
yeah, but I,
Send
all
me
right,
the email.
I will send it to you tomorrow,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
All right, good to hear it's still on the books.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yep.
Yep.
You're good, you're good.
Portia Levasseur, 17 Diana Road. Good evening. I am here tonight on behalf of Downtown Morris Plains to share some updates. We had shared them with Mr. Cortez, but he is not here tonight, and I think that would mean that Ms. Verga would have to read them on our behalf, and after she just got through that agenda, I didn't want to inflict that on you. So I will share them with you.
Yeah, I think so.
We were so happy to have the Business Development Committee named for 2025, and wanted to report that we do have a meeting scheduled for July 1st. We're looking forward to that to connect and continue our 2025 planning. For those of you who do not know, in Q1 we also built and released an updated business directory on our website. It is now linked through the borough, so thank you very much for connecting that. We will be continuing to update it, and it is searchable, so that was a big initial accomplishment for 2025. You also may be aware that last year we completed our bike rack design contest, which was done in partnership with Morris Arts and a grant that we received. We have since had the bike racks fabricated with a local welding company, Manning Metalworks. And we are expecting that they should be installed in a matter of days, so we are extremely excited and want to thank Sal for all of his support. And thank you, Mayor Karr.
I think he did tell me he's gotta wait for the mark out, right? Is that what he's waiting for? Or you're not
I
sure?
don't know what we're waiting for
Okay.
now, but it's been
I
about
believe-
8 months, so we're just
I believe it's a
hoping
mark
couple
out,
days.
I believe it's a mark out
Yeah.
he's waiting for, so yeah.
Hope we're not waiting much longer. We are also doing some work partnering with local businesses. We've been working together with the Farmers Market Committee that Sal is also managing. And we have a new volunteer who is our liaison between businesses and the committee to help curate some opportunities for businesses to benefit from the market. So that is one of our ongoing projects. We're also hosting an upcoming
virtual social media 101 session that will be free for all local businesses, and an additional 2025 roundtable on August 11th. All of this information will be up on our website, and we'll be promoting it on social media for any businesses that are interested. We have a save the date for our 2024 pumpkin illumination, which we will be sharing with you. It will be on Friday, October 24th. We'll be hosting a Zoom session for volunteers in July, on July 10th. So that's information is also online for anyone who is interested to volunteer. And finally, we are looking forward to announcing another really big project that we can't share yet, but it will be in 2026, and we will be back to share more about that very soon.
That's not fair.
Stay tuned.
Get
Wow.
excited.
Keep us in suspense, that's great.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Portia. I love
And
everything
really,
you guys
thank you
do.
for thank you for the entire committee. You guys are really working hard. You're making certainly headway here with some of your projects. Things are really catching on, so I do appreciate that. The bike racks, we thought we had, but the 11th hour, that kind of went sour, so we kind of had to back that up a little bit. So, but hopefully they'll be here very soon. And the market. It's for electric and gas and underground market. So that will be hopefully soon.
So we were told by the end of the day tomorrow, so.
The mark out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Who told you that?
Sal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
He
the
was told,
utilities,
yeah.
they probably lied to you.
Well, he was told that, but
Very good. Good.
spray paint's been
Fantastic.
there for 2 weeks.
Thanks for all the work. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing nobody, we move on to reports of committees and department heads. Ms. Verga.
I met with Jason Carr and Anna, our CFO, about health insurance broker. We're still looking at ways to save the borough money on our health insurance and also possibly help employees identify ways to save their out-of-pocket costs as well, but there's more research to do there. We're preparing, our CFO is preparing for the electric utility online reverse auction, as you saw in the long-winded list of consent agenda there. That will help us select our third-party supplier for non-street electric supply. We reviewed the audit findings, which was also on the consent agenda, and Anna's been answering questions from seniors about the property tax anchor and state New Jersey filings that are due this year, and she prepared April reports. The clerk's office has been shorthanded the past couple of weeks, but is doing a great job currently keeping up with things, and they worked through the primary election on June 10th, long day in preparation in advance and after to take down marriage applications and licenses, death certificates, food vendor licenses, with total revenue in May of $11,000, and ongoing Oprah requests and preparing for this meeting, and always answering calls from our residents and visitors to Morris Plains. Mayor Karr, myself, and Anna and Mike Ivey also met with our IT team, Rajesh and Muthu, to look over our IT infrastructure, review projects completed in 23-24, and planned projects for 2025, including the server hardware upgrades and implementing a self-service portal for single sign-on and password recovery and reset, so we don't have to wait for them to reset our passwords when we forget to update them. I'm naming any names, but that's all I have.
Every month.
Thank you. Public safety, Tyler.
Thank you, Mayor. As everyone saw earlier, we had the Museo group in here to go over the presentation. That was part of the conceptual plans committee that I'm always talking about, so happy the public is finally able to get to see what we've been doing and working on, and it sounds like we'll move forward and keep that going. We did have a public safety meeting on May 29th. Myself, Chief Koroski, Art and Sal met to go over all things public safety, hiring, buildings, equipment, miscellaneous. Again, myself, along with Chief Koroski, Lieutenant Guild, and other representatives from the Morris Plains Police Department attended the public safety graduation, where our newly hired officers, Emilio Erickson and Jake Zelensich, graduated on June 2nd. They are now on the active supervised shifts until September. Tonight, as you saw, there's some department awards being given out. I just wanted to give a big congratulations to everyone that was an award winner. The CERT program is official, and Chief Koroski has put out a flyer on the website and out, so essentially the MPPD put out the flyer explaining what's required and what is needed from applicants. We have 7 applications so far and plenty of room from others, so if anyone is interested in that, again, that's the Community Emergency Response Team. They'll be helping out at parades, Family Day, all sorts of activities like that, doing, helping with roadblocks, etc., so that the police can, again, kind of focus on some of the higher level things and just making sure they're keeping us all safe. They will receive OEM training, which is the Office of Emergency Management, and be guided by Lieutenant Guild. Also a resolution this evening for the purchase of the 100-year badges for next year's centennial. There's an upcoming security expo in Atlantic City from June 23rd to June 27th. That some members will be at. The department will also be getting a police motorcycle from the Elizabeth Police Department. I think this will be a great opportunity for enhanced community policing, in addition to having an extra vehicle in the spring, summer, and fall. Don't judge me if you see me asking for a ride on the back of it, because I'm just as excited. On Monday of this past week, we held a thank you breakfast for all the crossing guards. It was a fun time and a wonderful way to thank them and appreciate the residents who are helping keep our children safe. I know one of my daughters likes to ride her bike to school, so I said it Monday and I'll say it again. Thank you very much to all of our crossing guards. Fire department's busier than ever. They're up to almost 230 calls year to date. They are still finishing up the report for May, but that should be out soon. The 50-50 fundraiser is back. This is for the fire department. They're going to be at the farmers market almost every week this summer selling tickets. They are $1 each. I spent some time with them this past Saturday, and we had a good time and selling some tickets. If they sell all 20,000 tickets, the winner will get $10,000. And that drawing is going to be on August 30th at the block party. The fire department also received permission to use where the McDonald's location will be for training drills, rescue, evacuation, etc. I do believe some local residents received a letter or someone at their door explaining the procedure. So if you do see some fire department activity over there, do not be alarmed. This is an opportunity for them to take that space that's kind of sitting there now and get better and really get to do all those drills. So I think that's amazing. All the pumps were recently tested on the apparatuses and successfully passed. Next is going to be the hose and ground ladders. Some of the fire departments hoping to participate in the Brookside 4th of July parade. They will have a heavy presence coming up to this Family Day, along with Chris Shea. On the fire prevention front, Chris is actually actively, wow, I'm in trouble tonight, inspecting daily, along with assisting the fire department. We plan to have a 1-year review with him in July. His position will have been full-time for about a year, so it's a smart opportunity to review and plan for next year and moving forward. And also, just to jump back to the police department, I write these reports from hand every week, so they were honored, and it was very fun to watch them be a part in carrying the Special Olympics torch during the torch run through town on June 6th. I know all the borough school was out to support them, and I'm extremely proud of the officers for getting to do something amazing like that. We had in-person court this past Monday. Judge Carlucci and the staff do an amazing job. On May 29th, the borough students held a mock trial here that I was able to attend, which was overseen by Judge Carlucci. And I must say, a very well done job to all who participated. I was very impressed with these students that did that. I have no business being an attorney, but it was about a plagiarism or stealing of a song between two performing artists. And again, it was really fun to watch and really impressive. Coming up, we have Family Day on Saturday the 28th. That will obviously be an all-hands-on-deck day for public safety. And very quickly, I just wanted to touch on what the mayor said about my buddy Larry Ripley and the blood department. I think that's an amazing program that we have, and also being a member of Rotary, I just think it's incredible. My daughter spent a year in the hospital, the first year of her life, and a blood transfusion saved her life. So that is a very important thing to me, and I think an amazing thing that we do here in Morris Plains, and I'm very proud just to be here. So, that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Chief.
Good evening. Just a couple other small items. We had lead graduation, so our 5th grade kids got, after their several weeks of lessons with Sergeant Hines. Got to enjoy some time at the Funplex, courtesy of Municipal Alliance and the Police Department. So thank you to everybody who supports our LEAD program. I will be absent from the meeting in July, but I did want to mention some upcoming things for August. Our always very well attended event, Kona with a Cop, where we travel around with Kona Ice to several different parks in the borough. Is I think it's a Tuesday, but it's August 12th, so mark those calendars. You'll hear the lights and sirens coming. And then prior to that is actually one of our larger events of the year, is National Night Out, Tuesday, August 5th. A lot of community service-oriented organizations, the fire department, EMS, Morris County OEM, the sheriff's office, prosecutor's office, the list goes on and on. Red Cross is joining us this year, so a large event. Hopefully the rain gets out of the way here for a good event, because we got a little wet last year. But I also did want to mention, to conclude, two things. The CERT program is out and active, applications online, something that can certainly help give back to the community, especially in emergency crisis situations. And that application and background check are available to you if you just email Lieutenant Guild. And then finally, June 2nd was Academy graduation for Officer Erickson and Officer Zelinsich. The mayor was in attendance along with Tyler. We appreciate the council's support of adding to our police department. So after the week of policy review, they're now on the road. I think they've spent now 4 or 5 shifts in the patrol vehicle with their FTOs. So we wish them well, and obviously to all of our officers, in addition to Jake and Emilio, to be safe as well. So that concludes my report. Unless there's any questions, comments, or concerns.
Thank you, Chief, appreciate that, and a lot of activity down there, all worthwhile, so thank you. Public Works, Art.
Thank you. Mayor mentioned earlier about the goats, and we haven't seen them yet. I think they're pretty amazing. There's some mama goats with some baby goats here. Where my report went. They're eating poison ivy, knotweed, and I won't be able to remember the names of the other invasive species, but they say it's very important. So some of the natural life, say frogs and other animals that might go in and out of the ponds, if it's overrun with these invasive species, it'll eliminate some of the animal life. So, but they're very cute. We were there. We had a meeting the night they arrived, so pretty cool to see. But thank the beautification committee for also weeding all the planting areas in town, and they're very dedicated. And I know I've said this before, but they'll share plants if you have extra names of flowers in their gardens from home. They'll put them in town plots. So they do a great job, and they keep our town looking fantastic. So appreciate their efforts. DPW, they work on our vehicles daily, clean the garbage in all the parks, cut the grass in between the raindrops. It's been challenging this year for all the rain we've gotten. They've completed their CPR training, painted some curbs. They planted 20 skip laurel trees on Court Road path, which we're excited about, get more foliage. Cut down some dead trees, replaced the guardrail. And I thought we were gonna have to put a heater in our town pool because it had been so cool, but now it's 100 degrees. So they prepared the pool for opening day. They power washed, painted, put together filters, plumbing, mulched the playground, so the pool is up and running. So appreciate all their hard work.
Passed all their inspections today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So they will be open Friday. Tomorrow. Good thing. Tomorrow's Saturday.
Swim team can use it though.
Swim team.
Tonight was supposed, my daughter called me crying because it started to lightning right when they got
Yeah,
there.
no, swim team can use it tomorrow and then opens on Saturday.
That's all I have.
Good, thank you very much. Mr. Ryden.
Thank you, Mayor. Update you on our 3 construction projects, the Tabor Road sidewalk. Actually, none of these updates are gonna bring us anywhere. As to piggyback on what Art said, the rain has just stifled all our construction work. The contractors are all backed up. Anyway, Route 53 sidewalk, we have our DOT pre-construction meeting on June 24th next week. And starting construction will be determined at that time. Our Glenbrook Road project and our Capitol Road project, both were awarded to Cifelli Construction. We had the pre-construction meetings for those 2 jobs on June 10th. That contractor is backed up with paving work that has been installed because of the rain, so we're talking about mid-July to start. And that's all I have.
Just as long as they know when school opens.
Well,
We gotta
that's,
make sure
yeah,
that,
all that the completion dates are tied to opening the school, so. Cifelli tells us that he feels he can get that in even with the delays.
Fantastic, good, thank you. Public buildings and grounds, I don't know if anybody has anything for Mr. Cortez. If not, we'll move on to public sanitation, or public health sanitation and sewers. Mr. Ivey.
Thank you, Mayor. For the teen center, they wrapped up their 2025 school year with the parent night and the 5th grade step-up night where the parents and kids had their first 30 minutes to tour the house, and the remaining time was for the kids to enjoy. This is part of a recruitment event to bring the kids there, see who wants to register for next year. The board is meeting, well, they already met, it's rather late now, tonight to solidify the 2026 schedule. Coupling the teen center schedule along with tighter communication with the schools will ensure that we deconflict any events that happen between the two for next year. The registration form to include the background check form is being finalized and will be published in the next town newsletter. That should be ready in the next hopefully 48 hours. For Municipal Alliance, they also wrapped up their year. June 11th was the lead graduation, as Chief mentioned, with the Funplex event, followed by the family game night. Stephen Hill also spoke to the seniors on May 23, and this was geared towards facts, laws, and terminology around drugs and alcohol, giving the attendees a real look into the consequences of partaking in those things. The Alliance is looking to the fall already to plan the programs like Eat Dinner with Your Family Night and Stage Fun. More dates, more to follow as those dates approach. Lastly, Board of Health. They're continuing to perform health inspections around the borough to include at the farmers market. There were a few areas that needed to be addressed on the first day, but luckily these were just administrative errors or issues, not anything resolved around food safety. And I believe all those issues were resolved as of last Saturday. They are doing a very good job of checking everything, so anytime you have any samples, they're doing a very good job of making sure everybody's safe, everything's being kept cool, and especially when it gets hot like this. So they're doing a great job for us. Wellness Day is confirmed to be October 18th from 9 to 12 at the community center. And the board is currently looking to bring more family-focused vendors to the events, just to bring in a larger group of people to be interested to go there. And in case no one has noticed, summer has arrived in a hurry, and it is hot, and it's going to remain hot for the next few days. It's important to protect yourself and your neighbors who are susceptible to heat sickness. If you're going to be outdoors, please familiarize yourself with the symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. If you have kids, please make sure they're well hydrated before they begin outdoor activities, especially with camp kicking off. Ensure they take breaks, even if they say they're not thirsty, because my kids always say that. Make sure they drink. And with all the rain that we've had, there's bound to be stagnant water, and with stagnant water comes mosquitoes. Please inspect your property, make sure there's no standing water that could become a breeding ground. If you are having issues, Morris County has a service where they'll inspect your property and provide treatment for you. You can visit morrismosquito.org or call 973-285-6450 to request service.
Two things, there is a spot that needs
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And then, it was brought to my attention, probably, I think it was last year, that the Rotary donated a TV to the teen center.
Oh, is that from the, okay.
I believe, yeah, it was from the Rotary, so. I didn't hear about it, I just heard about it this weekend, we have a couple of Rotarians here.
Is that factual, or?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That the Rotary donated a television set to the teen center?
I'm not aware.
I
It
think so.
was last year or something, so I
Yeah,
didn't
so
hear about it, so I just.
That was probably the one that I
It's
hung
right
up.
around
Oh, there you go.
And looks good to show the.
And I want to shout out from the Municipal Alliance, the chairperson, Annette Wolf, who is behind me. She walks the walk because there's a project graduation that happens every year for Morristown High School students. The night they graduate, they all get bused to a fun facility where they play all night with like laser tag and karaoke and all that stuff. And she was one of the chaperones, I found out today. And you know, she's a true believer, and it takes people to really step up to make those things happen for our kids. So grateful to Annette and her many years of service.
She's a true asset there, really is, she's excellent,
Yeah.
thank you, Annette. Thank you. Moving on to ordinances and public utilities, Mr. Houston.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, so the mayor and a resident actually brought some Verizon poles to my attention. So I did reach out to Verizon. They did fix the one pole that was over on Mountain Way. I did get a positive response from them about the other ones that are on 202 over here by TD Bank, and then the wires that are over by Littleton Road across from the teen center. They told me they're dispatching crews this week, so I'll keep on them. I keep sending
Progress, that's good.
I keep sending him an email every week, and he responds back. So I've got positive comms there, so that's good.
That's good. Definitely hazards there, so.
For sure, absolutely, I'm gonna take care of it. And I would encourage, if there's any resident, that does see anything wrong with a pole, every pole has a number on it. Just what I've learned is that if it says VZ, that's Verizon. If it says, I think JP, or PF. JC, right, so that's a power pole. So there's, what you should do is grab the number and the letters of the pole. You can submit those to the utility company, or you can reach out to me as the liaison, and I'm happy to come over and take a look and add it to the list. So on the ordinances side, we already talked about ordinance 14/2023, so I am committing to an action plan by July's meeting, so I will get that. The mayor's asked me to look into a couple of other ordinance as well. There's a frontage ordinance and off-street parking ordinance, so I am looking into those as well.
And then I want to say extended stay, it's not extended.
The room and border?
Yeah.
Yes.
room and board.
Yep.
And we need that, because we have some issues that we need to take care of there.
Yes, understood. So all those are my to-do list before July's meeting. I know ordinance 6/2025 was sent to NJDOT. That was the one for, over here in Hawthorne to do the 4-ton restriction. Did we hear back from NJDOT
I haven't
yet?
heard back anything.
Nothing? Okay. I don't know, Mr. Ryden, I know I spoke to you a little bit about that. Do we, when we send those things to NJDOT, do we expect a response from them for,
I would expect so, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll,
But getting things from DOT takes a long time.
okay. Well, we'll just, I guess, keep waiting, but we'll keep following up. Let's see, actually, the fire marshal brought something to me from an ordinance perspective. He'd like us to consider creating an e-bike ordinance in light of some of the recent events in town. So I'll be looking into that, maybe referencing some other towns' ordinances as well. And that's what I have for ordinances. On the construction office, so the, over at the annex, they've been working hard to get their software system updated. It's something that was started by Mr. Wagner a couple years ago, and now they finally completed it, so their SDL software is up and running. And I actually got my first report from them, similar to the fire chief's report, so it's a work in progress, but reading from this report, for the month of May, they completed 34 permits, and they collected $20,031 in fees. I expect as we get through some more of that software, I'll get some more detailed updates. Karen did say that it printed out a 60-page report, so I obviously don't want to read all of that, but we'll go through that and we'll find some of the data there. We are also looking into, so we did meet with all the different companies over there about scanning all the documentation that's over there, all the plans and everything, which is a compliance thing. We also did approve it in our budget for this year to account for some of that. So I'm currently kind of consolidating all those quotes and then I'll bring it back to the council for consideration. One thing, Nancy, you mentioned earlier when you were looking at with the IT updates, we want to, can we add cloud storage into that? Because that's going to be a big part of maybe what we're doing. So just,
Yeah, there's on-site storage.
Okay.
So we can probably just add it to that.
okay, yeah, just something to consider. Maybe we should just have.
I think you gotta really check that, because I think the storage kind of is getting up to its max. Talking about, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I mean, the mail storage that's there now can't handle this.
Right,
So it would have to be a separate price.
Right, and that's what I'm asking, is as you guys are looking at, let's just, maybe you can pull me into that conversation so we can give you an idea of how much storage we're gonna need for that as well, so. Just on some of the other projects that are happening in town, so 415, 435 Speedwell, also known as McDonald's. The report I got today was that they still do need to satisfy their fines before they can apply for and continue with their demo. And Tyler, I think you mentioned earlier that the fire department is doing some training over there.
Yep.
So that's currently where we're at with that. I did get a note that if they do any work over there, they do have to put up an orange construction fence that's around there. So that's going to be a big visual indicator that work's starting over there. But as of right now, they still haven't met their compliance, so they can't do any more work over there yet. 329 Speedwell Avenue, which is the Rivian dealership. They do have, it's a Rivian service center. They have their demo permit. They're completing their demo. The zoning officer, construction officials, fire marshal, they've all been over there reviewing the site. They have not yet applied for whatever known as fit out permits, so plumbing, electrical, mechanical. So they're still in that demo phase. 225 Littleton Road, which is Weichert. They have applied for demo, electrical, and plumbing permits. They should be starting soon. So I think the inspector is going to go over probably tomorrow and early next week to do their inspections over there.
They have started over there.
Okay. I know for Bill Connor was saying that he's meeting with them tomorrow.
Yeah, outside stuff's been going.
Outside stuff has, yeah. So, warehouses, still no movement, still no tenant over there. Let's see, planning board update. So planning board had their meeting on June 16th, 7:30. There were no applications to review, but we did hold a public meeting and voted to approve the adoption of the Housing Element Fair Share Plan as an amendment to the master plan. And tonight, the council approved resolution 2025-90, which endorsed the Housing Element and Fair Share Plan. We had a public information session last Tuesday at Borough School Auditorium, and through the efforts of our residents, it was live streamed as well. The mayor, Ed Buzak, who's our former housing attorney, our zoning and planning board chairs, our engineer, and John Horan were all panelists during the session. Myself, Councilman Pontier, and Councilwoman Verga were in attendance as well. The session was well attended by about 20 people with about 113 views online, with a number of great questions from the public. So that whole session is available on YouTube if anybody hasn't seen it. Through a lot of work, mostly on our planner's part, but also through the Affordable Housing Committee and the attorney, we were able to get a realistic development potential down from 106 units to 10 units. This zone will be up at the intersection of Route 53 and Route 10, just behind the recycling center, adjacent to the existing Sonesta Suites. And this now starts a 62-day window to file objections to this, which opens on July 1st and closes on August 31st. And as the mayor pointed out earlier, there's documentation up there in case anybody hasn't received it yet. And the next planning board meeting is scheduled for July 21st here in this room. Mayor, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that's fine. I think the housing element plan, it's been gone over now, so I think most people have a grasp of what's happening here. And again, it was a tremendous undertaking, and to get it down from our original 137, the various ways that's in the bill, we got it down to 10. So I think with some other credits, we're a little bit lower than that, but that's just a huge relief, sigh of relief. And again, I reiterated, the borough is not against affordable housing, it's the density. So for every 1 unit of affordable, a builder is potentially able to build 5 larger units. So anytime we can get density down is really what we're looking for. So really thanks to everybody that was involved, the council, planning board, the committee, everybody really professional, took a lot. And I think we really positioned the borough not only well for this round, but for further rounds coming up. So thanks to everybody.
So the zoning board of adjustment update, they had their meeting on Monday, May 19th. They did hear one application for completeness, and I believe they deemed it complete. And their next meeting is Monday, June 23rd, which I think is this coming Monday here in this room. Let's see, so the checklist review committee, which was myself, Mr. Ryden, our engineer, Dave Schultz as chair of the zoning board, and Mike McAlear, We had several meetings regarding our land development application. The committee's goal was to simplify the document embodying all the necessary items needed between zoning requirements and planning board requirements, as well as provide a simpler and online accessible form for the applicant or resident submission. Our current land development document is 37 pages long and has many redundancies within the application. The two documents contain all the same requirements as our current applications. However, the information is better organized and more easy to understand from an overall applicant perspective. So we now have, we will have two documents. One's a Morris Plains Planning Board or Zoning Board of Adjustment application for subdivisions and site plan review. And the other is a Zoning Board of Adjustment application for variance relief and a checklist for that as well. So now they have separate, these two applications now separate zoning board requests from planning board requests and provide the applicant and or resident with easy transition to the appropriate board for application review and approval. Both the zoning board and the planning board are currently reviewing the revised applications and will be discussing their suggestions at their next meetings. And that is all I have.
But just with Verizon, there's still, and this has been worked on now a couple of times, there's still cell outage on 202 from the area around-ish Mount Pardis, 202 north to around Coles, okay? And then again, Forest Avenue, Mount Pardis, from 202, various areas along Mount Pardis, all the way out to Ridgedale Avenue and Cedar Knolls. I did get an email saying that it was repaired and fixed, but it's not. So there's dead zones all in there. So I have Verizon service. I don't know if it's just Verizon. They keep asking me that, but I know that there's an issue there.
I can look into it, which, if it's possible.
Same guy that, the same one that who you're dealing with, yeah, same problem.
If you wouldn't mind.
He would be familiar with it.
Right, if you wouldn't mind forwarding me the email.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
forward
find
that
it.
to you.
That'd be great. Excellent, thank you.
It's just a confirmation email?
Sure.
I don't think it has the,
Addresses?
yeah, I don't think it has
Okay.
to be on there, it's just a confirmation of the number.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
good.
I took a note.
We have no introduction of ordinances, we do have ordinances on second reading. Houston.
I, Councilmember Houston, read by title the ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 7-2025, a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of firefighting equipment by the Borough of Morris Plains in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $1,400,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 880,000 bonds or notes of the borough for financing such appropriation, which ordinance was introduced and passed on first reading at a meeting held on May 15th, 2025.
I announce the meeting is open for a public hearing on this ordinance. This is putting the funds in place which was budgeted for a new engine for the fire department. Seeing no one, I close the public portion.
I, Councilmember Houston, state that the above ordinance, as read by title on second reading at this meeting, be adopted and finally passed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy, roll call please.
Mr. Bruhn?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Ivey?
Yes.
Mr. Pontier?
Yes.
Ms. Verga?
Yes.
I declare the ordinance adopted and finally passed. And unfortunately, the last time that we heard, that takes about 3 years to receive this piece of equipment. So we'll see. Hopefully it's before that.
I, Councilmember Houston, read by title the ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 8-2025, an ordinance to appropriate $130,600 from the Capital Improvement Fund to the various improvements in and by the Borough of Morris Plains in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, which ordinance was introduced and passed on first reading at a meeting held on May 15th, 2025.
I announce the meeting is open for a public hearing on the ordinance. Again, this is putting funds in place that were budgeted for fire department radios, I believe a police radar sign, and the tennis court repair. Seeing no one, I close the public portion.
I, Councilmember Houston, state that the above ordinance, as read by title on second reading at this meeting, be adopted and finally passed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tyler, roll call please.
Mr. Bruhn?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Yes.
Mr. Pontier.
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
Okay, we have no unfinished business, no new business. We do have vouchers.
Wait,
Mayor,
do we not want to discuss the
Can we go back to the
resolution?
Resolution 13.
Yeah, I know, we're gonna go into executive session.
No, but not, you can on that, but you can on resolution 2025.
The shade tree one.
Oh,
It's
I'm
on
sorry,
shade
shade tree, okay, yeah,
So
sorry.
that has to be discussed, and then individual roll calls we take.
Okay, just an individual roll call on, let's see.
Well, before that-
2025-85, I think Bill explained it, but.
Well, no, I'm looking at the resolution itself now, and I see that there's actually decisions made here about where these trees are gonna be planted. And
Right.
if it's not discussed with the Shade Tree Commission at a meeting, who's making these decisions about where these trees are being planted?
Exactly my concern.
Okay, so then we'll take a vote on it, and if you don't wanna move it forward, we won't move it forward. That's all.
Can we just,
Is there a
can we
motion?
table it instead of?
So, the deadline for this grant is June 30th for it to be submitted, so keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I don't know enough about shade trees, and I don't know enough about the location that is recommended, in here, which is, so it's a $2,500 grant to purchase and plant shade trees at Mountain Way and Sylvan Drive. I just don't know that that is the right location, I know nothing about it. And again, as I said earlier, I don't believe that the Shade Tree Commission, discussed it either. So without having our commission look at it, I understand that there's a timeline on the grant, and I think it's a great grant, I don't know that it's the right place for it.
I don't know, I don't know if you wanna turn down the possibility of getting any kind of shade tree, really regardless of where it is, but that's just me, but we can take a vote on it and see where it all lands, that's all.
I
Okay,
think
we'll
that
take a vote, that's all.
Can we table this instead of?
Well, it's up in June.
it's June 30th is when the grant is. But I don't know, something like this, I think I don't know how it came here, and you mentioned earlier, Mr. Mayor, you don't know how it got here.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I think something like this, if there's a timeline on it, right, it should have gone to the shade tree in enough time for them to look at it and then come to us. I think the fact that we're up against the clock now, I don't have an issue with it, and other than, I don't know that it's the right place for it, these trees.
I don't know whether that has to be nailed down there or not, but anyway. So
Well,
we'll take
somebody
a,
made the decision, but who made the decision? That's all we're asking.
alright, we'll take a vote and we'll either move forward or we won't. So I don't know if that's the answer right now. I don't know.
Well, not to put Mr. McAlear on the spot, but I do see him in the back there.
Me?
You know,
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk, am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, you can come up and speak.
I don't really have much to say. so-
Well, as the only representative of the Shade Tree Commission here,
Yeah, I think, am I allowed to speak?
State your name and address.
My name's Rob McAlear, I live at 2 Maple Ave, so go ahead, what was?
So I think that, there's an application, there's a resolution in front of the council tonight.
That never came in front of the Shade Tree Commission. My personal stance is I'm not against the grant, I mean, I think more trees are always better if we can get them. It does speak to something that I wouldn't normally air here, but it's my ongoing frustration that the commission does not follow the proper process. During our last meeting, I asked that we have working committees put together so that we could have a clear division of responsibility, so things like this wouldn't fall by the wayside, and my motion was not seconded. So I think that maybe this grant in particular, I don't have a problem with, but I think that there is an issue on our commission with not following proper process. The goals that were presented, as I said in one of our meetings, to the council at the beginning of the year also were never voted on by our commission. So there's a pattern here, it's not just a one-off thing that's rushed, in my opinion, so, for what it's worth.
I appreciate it, but as you stated, right, the Shade Tree Commission has not seen this resolution, and has not made comment
So
on
I believe,
the location.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
It's okay, just that they have not made any comment or recommendation on the location of these shade trees being planted at Mountain Way and Sylvan Drive, to your knowledge.
So I cannot remember, so this year, no.
Okay.
It has never come up, we've never voted on it, it's never been discussed. Marianne Steckert did apply for this grant, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, and there were a number of locations which we did vote on. I would also you know, have to go back and look at my notes to remember if this was one of those or not. I don't have those with me right now, so I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not against getting trees for the borough. I'm all for it, for planting more trees.
Yeah.
So my take is whatever the council thinks, but I do wish that we would follow the process to put things through committee and we would have discussions. I think that that is a real problem on our commission, and I think anyone who's watching the videos can see that, so I'll leave it there.
I appreciate it, and, yeah, appreciate it, thank you.
So, anyone
We'll
else?
take a vote.
Am I good, Mayor?
You're great.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move forward with this, on resolution 2025-85.
Somebody has to move the
Is there a
motion.
move?
If somebody moves the motion, then somebody has to second the motion, and then an individual roll call will be taken. If nobody moves the resolution, it dies. Nobody seconds it, it dies. Just so you understand the process.
So is there somebody who wants to move this resolution?
To approve, isn't it?
Move it.
Move it, to
If
vote
you
on
don't
it.
move it, it's denied.
Yeah.
So you don't move it.
I agree with Bill's, the process doesn't seem like it was followed, but, as Rob said, I'd like to get the money and plant trees. I'd like to move that we move the motion forward.
So you're making a motion to approve, or to move or approve resolution.
I'll move the resolution.
And is there a second?
Sorry, John, real quick. Okay. My question was, in this resolution, it specifically says trees in Mountain Way and Silver Drive. Do we have, if we get this grant, do we have to plant them there? Because that's what the resolution says.
In the last grant, there are a number of locations suggested, so I believe, yes, that the grant parameters are, you have to talk about the species of tree, you have to talk about the location, you have to talk about how it fulfills a role in the community, there's an education component. So it's a pretty detailed application.
And this does outline that the Mountain West School principal has made some commitments, and there was, you know, clearly there was a lot of discussion that went on somewhere about this.
It may have been the previous grant, and they're just gonna reapply for the same, I'm not sure, because as I said, I've never heard anything about any of it, it's never was discussed at a meeting.
So we have a second by Mike. Take a roll call, please.
Mr. Bruhn,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Abstain.
Mr. Ivey,
Yes.
Mr. Pontier,
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
And we have no unfinished business.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, just since there wasn't any time in conference this meeting or last meeting, I did invite Jim Hunt to be here tonight. I would very briefly at least like to start the discussion on completing green streets if possible. I was, I guess, gonna bring it up in new business, just because I didn't know when else to do
Yeah,
it. if that's
we
okay.
have no unfinished business, new business, so we'll do Green Streets.
Okay, awesome. So as I circulated in May, the draft that we've been working on in the traffic committee and with everyone, that Jim Hunt was, you know, took a lot of time to do and write. Essentially, the next step for this would be the resolution would appoint a policy advisory committee to recommend a complete and green streets policy to the council within 6 months of the date of the resolution. So essentially, all I'm asking for is for people to consider this and to consider making that resolution. All that does is help us put together the advisory committee to then make the actual recommendations on the complete and green streets. Clearly, for people that essentially don't fully understand what it is, Jim might be able to explain it a little bit better, but it's a policy, it's a means to provide a comprehensive, integrated, connected, multimodal network of transportation options through planning, design, construction, maintenance, and operation of new and retrofit transportation facilities along the entire right-of-way for all users and all abilities. Essentially, it's just a way to improve public safety in the sense of crosswalks, people in cars, people walking, people on e-bikes, people on scooters, people in wheelchairs, just sort of people in cars, up and down the board. And I realize that we are a small borough and other townships and boroughs do have a larger implementation, let's just say, of this. But in speaking with residents last year and this year, it seems something that is very important to people and having some form of this adopted for the borough. So I will lead that charge. And again, I invited Jim Hunt here. He is literally the complete and green streets policy expert. He's involved in multiple other townships and committees on things like this. So being that I am not an expert, and if people did have questions, I did just want him here to be able to get that clarity, both for the council and for the public. And Jim, thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening.
Thanks for considering this.
Just your name and address here, Jim.
Oh, sure. I've been fighting a cold. This is to protect me. I'm not contagious, but.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Anyway. Jim Hunt, 44 Jaquai. Yeah, as Tyler said, this is a safety issue. When we got the state to pass the New Jersey Safe Passing Law, which I led the team to do, it was unanimously, bipartisan, everybody, because it's a safety issue. Working with the chief, doing so much to improve safety on the roads, handicapped in some ways by the design sometimes that we have on the roads. So this is an opportunity to take a look at what we do, to seize opportunities when we repave, to do things that would let everybody move about in the way they choose more safely. And speeding can be reduced, more opportunities to connect trails and paths so people can get on their bikes, so kids can ride. The ordinance that you're mentioning, it's all over the place. People are considering these ordinances. The difficulty we have without a framework in which to consider an ordinance is what do we really want to do with, do we want to encourage those kinds of things? Many of the ordinances are being passed about e-bikes discourage their use at all. And that's not what's happening. People are using them all the time. So this is a way to look broadly at the many different ways people are choosing to travel and will travel in the future. How many e-bikes have you passed recently? How many scooters? It's amazing. I saw somebody coming down 202 on one of those hoverboard kinds of things the other day. So they're all over the place. What we have to do is decide what can we do. And one of the things that's so impressive about the borough is that we are highly walkable already. We're highly, the opportunity to cycle is there. It's a little dangerous in some places, can be improved. But we have a real gold mine in terms of a community that's livable and walkable. This is a way that many towns have chosen to put a framework together for safety and for improved access by multiple devices. So I do hope that you can take a look at it. If you look at the committee that would be forming the policy, I think it's pretty representative of the kinds of voices that can tell us what's the best way to handle this kind of policy. So thank you for taking the time. It's been a long night. You've had a lot of stuff on your agenda, but thanks for considering it.
Thank you, Jim. So I did go over this. I do have some concerns with the language.
Please.
Where it says entire and all, some of those strong words right there.
Which
Number 3, it says entire right of way. I mean, it may
Yes.
not be entire right of ways, right, in some of these instances. So, and I do want to just bring something else up. And I know the state adopted this.
Yes.
And we've been battling with the state, obviously, now, 25 years of the added lane out on Route 10.
Yes.
And they put this policy, and this is why I'm saying this because I don't want to handicap the borough in any way, right, or blanket the borough in anything. So now this complete and green streets policy that the state has really just about avoided the extension of the lane or the addition of the lane out on Route 10 from 53 down to 202 to alleviate some of the backup and get some of the traffic through Route 10 over there. They wanted to close 5 businesses, driveways. They wanted to, I don't remember how many parking spots off the top of my head, more than 50 parking spots at least, maybe 100 now that I'm thinking about it, along those businesses, the front areas of those businesses, putting sidewalks and grass areas and whatnot along Route 10, right, which would hamper their property for the owners, right? It would hamper parking. Some of them would have walls and tall steps going up to the buildings in some instances. So we really have to be careful just trying to do this so we don't handicap the borough in any way like that. Because essentially, if we let this go for this project moving forward, you'd have for
sale sign and for lease signs out there on Route 10 because nobody would be able to patronize those businesses.
I understand the concern, and the policy has been applied in ways that are not conducive on state roadways especially. But this is a policy for the borough.
Yeah, no, I
So
understand fully.
the resolution suggests, and I think the policy would probably carry the same message, which is it's up to us what we decide to
Right.
use it for. And certainly we don't wanna use it on Route 10.
No, I
Makes
know,
no
but
sense.
even in here, you know, I just wanna be very careful that we don't handcuff any of the businesses or, you know, the parking. I understand, I understand that that's not.
No, I wanna be careful as well, because
Yeah.
I think one of the things that really makes us, we have a new opportunity for what I call now uptown, right, Wyckoff and so on. We've got our downtown, we've got our uptown. We can encourage business, and you look at the statistics and places that use complete and green streets policies, usually economic growth is improved, right?
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not disputing any of that by any means.
No, I understand the concern, and I've heard about this before, and it does seem a misapplication. I will say that because I've also worked closely with the DOT on the Target Zero Commission and other kinds of things that they're doing. They now have a directive to do more context-sensitive application of the complete green streets policy at the state level. May help us or it, don't know, not gonna make any promises.
This is a whole different concept, but they told us there's no deviation.
Yeah, that's changed, the commissioners changed those things now, but it's a work in progress with the state. The county, as you know, the chief and I are both on the local safety action plan for Morris County, where they're considering these things, and one of the things that's being recommended, at least it's in the draft, is a complete and green streets policy for the county. So where you don't have these problems with jurisdictional issues, right? So we hit a county road, what are we gonna do with the county road? Now we can work together perhaps a little more effectively with the county. So I think there's only a plus to this if we get the policy we want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point of this committee, is the one we want.
Correct.
Even the state enables us to do it, but it's up to us to decide what to do.
Yeah.
I think we'd be able to help pick the committee too, which I think, you know, is helpful to be able to.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's something that I saw here when you see entire and, some of those strong words like that, you just
I gave my feedback on this like quite a while ago.
Yeah.
You did incorporate, thank you very much, my questions, and you addressed them with footnotes and some revisions, so I appreciate that. So I think we've all had this the same amount of time, so I'm prepared to vote on this. I don't know if everyone else had the same amount of time, had an opportunity to really look at it, or can we commit to voting on this at the July meeting?
Yeah, at the next meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to start the conversation, it's just we've been so busy,
I think
so.
if people can get the revisions or any comments, did everybody look at this at all, or does anybody else have comments? Because I can get my comments to them, or you, or whoever.
Yeah, please, I know we did basically just an initial round, then brought it to the traffic committee, and then they recommended,
Yeah, so-
we.
So by the
bring it
next
to council.
meeting, or if we can, if everything else aligns, we'll vote on it. But
That'd be awesome, it'd be great.
Plan on that, so if everybody has any comments, just get them by next week
I
or whenever,
particularly
right?
appreciate here that you addressed the question I had on that it aligns with the master plan. And I think that's important in anything we do with land use, that we have to make sure that it aligns with the master plan. And you cited those areas that are, aligned with this process, so it's great.
No, I appreciate the comments and the feedback. It only makes it better when we get those kinds of comments. And if it's possible to move it forward in July, perhaps some thought to who might be on the committee, so we can get to work. That'd be great.
So that would be a council advisory board.
Yes.
And I know that was part of the business thing was one of the traffic committee concerns we had that you essentially, did address in here. And from what I've read, I've been trying to read as much as I can about all this in the different townships. It does seem to enhance business and the attractiveness of people wanting to be in the areas where extra people are walking and hanging out and have that safety as well. So I feel confident. I think
Tyler,
we
can you and the traffic committee make recommendations for if you know people, or, if you need somebody who would be interested in doing the mobility issue from the perspective of somebody who has a disability, like, if you don't know anybody, I know somebody, so let's try to get those names in front of us for the next meeting too.
Yeah, I think having a nice list of people to consider would be great, and I think it would be a really dynamic committee to have with just all, I think Jim had, from a, you know, an MHS 12th grader to a council member, or someone from the senior group, a resident with a disability, you know, I just think, yeah, that would be a really dynamic team that would devise a really.
But I mean, can we get names?
Yes, absolutely, and I can help with that. I'm just saying, yeah, we'll get that.
I volunteer.
Shocking.
Don't try to get out of this now.
But
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks for, at the end of a very long meeting, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, Jim, I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much. Moving on to vouchers, Ms. Verga.
I move that the vouchers for June in a total amount of $3,359,450.46 be approved.
Wait a second.
Second.
Second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruhn.
Yes.
Mr. Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Ivey.
Yes.
Mr. Pontier.
Yes.
Ms. Verga.
Yes.
We do need an executive session.
This is not the right. I have it. Oh, there we go. Be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Morris Plains on the 19th day of June 2025 that prior to conclusion of this regular meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Morris Plains, which regular meeting has been open to the public, the Mayor and Borough Council shall meet in executive session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss matters as permitted pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 subsections 7 and 8. The time when the matters discussed pursuant to paragraph 1 hereof can be disclosed to the public is as soon as practicable after the final resolution of the aforesaid matters.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the ayes have it. I thank everybody for coming out. We will be coming back in, if, to close the meeting, you're more than welcome to.